You're live. Oh, there's Miss Sunday Davis.
Well, welcome to the Justice and Memory Team project meeting. This is our 18th meeting.
That's waiting.
This team was put together by the mayor of Athens. What he did was a similar team to work on the resolves that are outlined in the resolution. So we're working towards and have been working towards avenues of atonement. So this is what we've been doing since I think it was in September 2020. So thank you all for coming. Today, we are probably just going to be doing updates so everybody can be updated on what the work that we have done, what we've completed, and what we have done. So with that, what we normally do is start with the moments of silence for the descendants that have passed on. So we're going to do that now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The minutes have been sent out already for everybody to read. We're not going to read the minutes unless you have any questions. We're going to go ahead and go through the motions to approve them. They don't need to be amended. Okay, Jennifer?
So want to make a motion to approve the minutes? Anybody?
I make a motion to.
Patty, seconded, Charlene? Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstain? All right, wonderful.
Thank you all. So we're going to move down. We have Mayor Gertz first. He's going to talk about the charge and assembling, why he assembled this team. Mayor.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it. It's good to see everyone. It's good to be in the same room as anybody in 2022. But thanks to longtime members of the Memory and Justice team. We've been, as Eddie mentioned, doing this work since 2020. And it's really pursuant to sort of two pieces. The first was a resolution that was approved by the entire commission to pursue avenues of justice and atonement around the urban renewal work that, in this case, was centered in Lemon-Town, though, of course, there were two large urban renewal areas here in Athens, and one right behind Frank. Yep. And really one a few blocks behind Bethel. I asked this group to assemble specifically around the Cloverhurst and Baxter area, the Lemon-Town neighborhood. And it really is set up as the first of what will be sort of several clusters, that look at other neighborhoods where people were displaced, where homes were taken by eminent domain, certainly under the provinces of the urban renewal law set up really beginning in the late 40s by the federal government, in which they partnered with local governments as they did with the then city of Athens before unification. So that's one document, is kind of the charge to this group that I set out. And then the other is the resolution that the commission approved. And the body has been very capably working through really item by item in the charge that was set up for the Memory and Justice team, and that parallels a lot of things that were in that resolution. But of course, most of the meetings have been online for the last couple of years, and so that's just meant that sometimes it's a little more difficult to sort of go down the punch list and say, okay, well, what have we done in each of these categories with each element of both the charge that I provided to the team, as well as the pieces that were in the resolution that the commission approved. And so one of the things we've talked about for many months is being able to get back together just to do something of an assessment and say, okay, well, with each of these pieces of my charge and the commission's resolution, how far have we come? And, that can presage the conversation about where do we go from here, of course. So that sort of wraps a little bow on it, but Hetty's done such a marvelous job, and
Thank you.
Probably met Sarah Gardner, who's our inclusion officer, and Nikki Jones, who's our assistant manager, all of whom have been helping, as have maybe other staff members, sometimes pertinent to specific projects like the monuments that will eventually be off Baxter Street, that of course involves just some engineering skills that nobody in this room has, that we're glad to have them at the table for too. So, Patty, thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that we have, as a team, we have really come together and we have been able to talk about race and justice, which is pretty hard to talk about sometimes, but we have been able to do that. We have become stronger as a team as a result of being able to talk about these kind of things and to move forward as we try to put avenues of atonement. So I appreciate all of the tough discussions that we have had with each other in order to move forward. We had some tough discussions, but we're able to move forward, and appreciate all of that. One accomplishment that we had, the first thing that we wanted that was outlined in the resolution was an apology. We wanted an apology for what had happened that led to the erasure of our community. And the mayor wrote a proclamation that included an apology. An apology moves volumes. It just helps you move forward. We received that apology, and it was great for us to continue to move forward, to understand for him to understand as a mayor to us what happened. And not only did he write that, but he read it on this courthouse steps. So that was a historical event, and all of us had on masks, and I mean, but it was
Even outside.
yes, we were outside, we had on masks, but it was such a historic moment for the city of Athens, and we appreciate what you did, Mayor, to that. And we also made some recommendations, this team, around moving, some other teams had been working on trying to get raises for the Athens-Clarke County employees who work for Athens-Clarke County. They have been working on this for years. So we also made a recommendation that all the Athens-Clarke County employees receive a $15 wage increase, whether it was minimum of work or part-time work. And that was approved in July of last year. So that was a great accomplishment. So those are some of the things that we participated in, and some things we got through as a result of the work, along with some others around the wage increase. So this brings us up to, anybody have any questions about that? Questions? So this brings us up to what we're working on now. And one thing we're working on now is the walk of recognition. And I'm going to turn that over to our subgroup leader, Jennifer Rice, and she's going to bring you update on that.
So I do have a PowerPoint, but I don't think we necessarily need it. Okay, great. I'll have my notes here. So yeah, so this has been really an honor and a privilege to work on with this whole team, and lots of input from the community, lots of input from descendants. So effectively what we're working on is the walk of recognition. We turned the wall into a walk. We decided we needed more than one stop to accomplish everything we needed to, thinking about how to remember and honor Lennon. So for those of you, refresher, the walk of recognition is 4 points all along Finley Street, south of Baxter on the west side. Right near the corner of Baxter and Finley is what we'll be having. It's an artistic installation. We call it the Lennon Mosaic. So I'll say more about that in just a moment. And then as you proceed south down Finley, along the sidewalk, you'll encounter what we hope to be is 3 historical signs. So three pieces of signage that tell stories, capture history, have pictures. Fancy people we can hire can make them interactive with technology. That's beyond me. So it's really a walk. It's a short walk, but that's good. And so you can start on either end, mosaic, and then 3 signs that will tell this story of Lennon. And these documents exist online with maps and sort of points. So as a reminder, so the historical signage that captures the stories, the histories, the images will be done by an interpretive graphic design firm who will have extensive input from the Justice and Memory Project members, descendants, community members about what should be captured on those signs. I mean, that's the key, right? Content. So, but we're going to get a professional company who knows how to do this, and create these signs that are interactive. They teach, they engage. So that's kind of set aside, and we're working on that RFP, I think, and, Stella could speak more to where we are with that. So that will be done by a team, but then the mosaic has been conceived of as a participatory community art project. And as a reminder, mosaics are what we'll have is a base structure, and then it's pieces of stuff. Usually it's pieces of ceramic tile. You can have mirrors with under regulations. You can have found objects. I mean, things that are durable. There's materials that are durable. And if you remember seeing mosaics, which I've presented pictures in other forums, there's pieces that when you step back, you see an image, right? So that will be the art project and the participatory art. Yes, yeah, the participatory art project. So we've been working on this with the community, descendants, and UGA classes. The last semester, we had UGA students do several community workshops where we got input on design ideas, both for the base structure that will be erected there in along between the street and the sidewalk, but also the artwork on it. So we did those during the pandemic outside with masks on. We've done a lot of work. So we did those last fall. We met with the Sala, we've met with the descendants, we showed pictures, we discussed ideas, and we have artwork that, again, I've put, you can see it in the records of the JMP. So we have some base structures and some artwork that have been produced from last year that have been kind of gone through lots of interaction with the community. And then this semester, another UGA class with, again, the participatory art facilitator, Dr. Lynn Saunders Bussell, they've been making pieces in middle school and high school. And again, I have some images here. They're on previous presentations I've done, but they're clay pieces there's a poem that some students have made. So there's been a lot of artwork done. And in the process that everybody learns about Lennon-Town. Every time we do a workshop where mosaic pieces are made, the story is told, the history is told, the relationships are built. So that's why it's not, the students are getting to do art making, but they're learning, they're engaging. Often Miss Hattie or others will come. So it's really a process of building relationships and teaching and honoring. So that took place this semester under Dr. Bussell's direction, and there's lots of pieces that are ready to go into some kind of mosaic. So that's pretty much where we are. We have the basic concept of the whole walk of recognition. We have the idea for the mosaic. We have some designs for what the mosaic will look like, and we actually are starting to get community-made, community-generated mosaic pieces. And so that's where we are.
Also, would you talk about the social media?
Oh, yeah. Golly, yes. Can't do anything anymore without social media, but we do. So we have, there is a mosaic social media. I think I've been responsible for that. Maybe haven't posted as much as I should, but if you want to find that, we can post updates when we have events and that kind of thing. The events this last few months were geared at specific classes in the middle and high schools, so they weren't really public in a sense. But we have social media on Instagram. What else do we have?
You have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can have mosaic at LenontownMosaic@gmail.com.
LenontownMosaic@gmail.com.
You can follow the mosaic on all social media.
Yep. So we've got a really great start. It's really exciting. We're building great relationships. We've probably interacted with hundreds of people throughout the community on this mosaic. It's really exciting. So this, they get to hear the story, they get to interact, they get to dialogue with each other. And then eventually, the last thing I'll say is, this is the idea that this is erected with the community. It's like people can actually come out and learn how to put pieces on the mosaic. And so they're gaining art making skills, they're getting to meet people. So eventually this will be constructed with community help under very safe protocols. With a lot of safety gear. We'll make sure everyone's safe. So I think that's everything.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I'm just so glad to hear that the students are involved.
Yeah.
Because that's a learning skill for them, and that is just.
Yeah, and at all levels right now, from middle school up, yeah.
So they'll know what it's about, they'll have the history, I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been a strong goal, is to engage younger people.
Yeah.
How do you find it? I find it on this.
I guess you have to search for it. I can, we can make sure we get it in the minutes. I'll send you the direct links and we'll make sure, but I think if you just search for Lennon-Town Mosaic, it would come up. Yes.
Any other questions? I want to personally thank Jen on her leadership around this mosaic. It's been a lot of work, Jen, so it's probably, when I asked you to do this, you probably didn't have the idea of the work that was involved.
No, it's been great, and we've dreamed up a
Yeah.
really beautiful project, and I'm really happy it's moving forward.
And Lynn for working on it. I appreciate that. But like I said, sometimes when you ask people to do something, they don't know the scope of the work.
I guess that's
And,
good.
and that may be good, because they say yes right quick. But thank you,
Well, thank you. Yeah.
thank you. Okay, and another piece of, anybody have any questions for me?
And there's a map of those locations moving around.
Yes,
And
Yeah.
that's it.
you're gonna kind of visualize that.
And if you want a copy of
That's just an
that,
example, yeah.
we can probably can we give them a copy? If anybody want a copy of that before you leave, we can get your copy.
Yeah, examples.
Okay, I'm just going to verbally give you an update on the Athens-Clarke County Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures. We're calling it the History Center, but that's the name of it. Give you an update on that, where we are on that. What I have been doing is working on organizing to get an idea of the work and organize people around the work that it takes to put a history center in place. So I had put a public historian in place, a community outreach person in place, a strategist in place, a financial leader in place, and a grant writing team in place. And all of these people said yes. And all of them are ready to go to work.
Yes, that's awesome.
So I want you all to know that. So, and also we have applied for a 501c3. So all of this is working in place. And in time, we hope to do a RFP for a floor in a building that's gonna come up, that's available now, but we gotta do RFP for a floor, hopefully in the cost of building. We gotta compete with everyone else. It's gotta be a fair process. So we're gonna work with that. So if all of this is going on and RFP is approved, then, we'll move forward. And a lot of moving pieces is gonna have to take place to make this successful. And I'm meeting with a lot of people to try to make this happen. But I'm confident that it will happen here in Athens. But it's gonna take the whole Athens and a lot of people working together to make it happen.
Hey, I think we talked about it briefly at the last meeting of the library. The cost of building is what you targeted,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And I worked out of the building for 100 years, and it's gotta be redone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking, I guess I'm thinking primarily about handicap accessibility.
Yeah, all of that
And
is,
all that's inclusive.
all that is being worked on.
Good work, okay.
It's intermittent accent in the bill, but it's gotta be a build out of the floor that we want. So I'm working on that with the team too, to see what they volunteered to give us a schematic of what all needs to take place on the inside.
Have you the old jail? You said?
Yes. Mhm. Some people call it the old jail.
No, I
Call
just.
it the place.
It wasn't jail, it was a police department.
Police department.
Yeah.
I wasn't in jail.
No.
Okay.
The old jail was in the top floor of the courthouse.
No, it was a building, a old building.
Stockade out on Boulevard.
No, it's one behind the,
Oh, yeah, I know. Over off Hill Street.
That's down.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That one not, you're not talking about.
You telling
Remember, we're in a meeting, we're live streaming, so let's move forward.
Okay, well, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, so, let's stay on point. Okay, so that's what we are. Do you have any questions about this, what I just went over? Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right,
Sorry, I do.
What is the RFP for? Is it for the build out? Is it for content?
it's for the,
So there's a SPLOST project. to renovate the Costa building. And that SPOS project was 2011, it's already been approved. So now staff needs space. A lot of other folks who are trying to come in and wanting to enter the building as well. So there's more demand than there is space. So that's why we're having to go through an RFP process to make sure that everyone has a fair shot to get into the building, staff included.
So we'll be responding to an RFP, not issuing an RFP.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. You want to talk what the team is working about?
The user group,
Mhm.
so do you know who's on the user group?
First Lost,
For the
the
Costa
Costa
building?
building, I don't.
I don't either, actually.
Okay, well, it's a team
It's like a
working.
what is it called, tenancy task force or? I don't know.
Well, there's a SPOS user group, but there's also the property management, group as well, who's made up of commissioners. But I was thinking about the user group, because the user group is really the one who kind of helps facilitate the RFP.
Once the RFP is completed and they put it out, then everybody will start completing that and send it back to wherever it's supposed to go. We'll follow the line of where it's supposed to go.
For clarity, because I didn't know this until I started working for ACC Gov, an RFP is a request for proposals. So essentially, it's something that goes out to bid, and then anyone that's interested would then put in their application to bid for the space through a proposal. So it's called an RFP.
Questions? If not, we're gonna move on. Next, we will have Charlene. Charlene, you can talk about the subgroup you're leading.
Okay, so my updates won't be as comprehensive because this group is still kind of getting off of the ground, so I might need your help a little bit when giving these updates. So this subgroup that I'm working with is specifically focused on developing recommendations for how this local government can address past wrongs when it comes to urban renewal and the destruction of communities. And specifically through two ways, through funds for affordable housing development and funds for the Black History Center. So there will be a lot of kind of overlapping, and I think coinciding of work and efforts with that group. And so right now, or the most recent thing that we had done, which is the last thing we've done, so there's been no official meeting of this group yet, but there has been a discussion with county staff from the county manager's office, county attorney, as well as the inclusion office, just to get some guidance on the scope of work for this subgroup. And also to just get a better idea of some of the things that we needed to be thinking about and researching, such as what we mean by affordable housing, if that's like the development itself, or if that means helping with repairs for low-income community members and such. So that's something that we're working on right now. Sayla provided a list of resources to us, including such as how CARES Act funding was used by the county and city government, potential uses for ARPA funding, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, and then also connecting us with the inclusion fellow who's going to be helping with providing some research assistance. And all of this work, all these efforts are kind of based off of a presentation that was made by Dr. Jerry Shannon, who works in the geography department at UGA, provided a report based on tons of work that he and his students did over, I think, a couple of semesters, focused on an economic analysis of what was taken from the Lyntown community, and again, how the local government can respond to that. And something that Mr. Jones brought up in that meeting was the fact that through eminent domain, like that process for, I guess, appealing had already passed long ago. So now we're focused specifically on, again, how the local government can respond to these issues in a broader sense. I think I may have covered everything. I think the last thing that I did want to get clarification on from Sayla or anyone else in the room on city staff is like the status of that group, because in that discussion, we talked about whether or not it would be like an official working group that needed to follow all the different rules and regulations when it came to open records requests and live streaming, or if it was going to be a working group that kind of provided updates to the rest of the group. Because it was unclear in the last email that you sent whether there was a decision made on that.
I think that the last input that I received, that it had to be live streamed. And we had to follow the same rules and regulations around the justice and everything.
So as I understand it, and please, Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong, the economic losses, walk of recognition, the Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures. Those are subcommittees of the work of the Athens Justice and Memory Project with leads that are members. So anyone within the Athens Justice and Memory Project can kind of lead that subcommittee. Certainly can consult out, like in terms of affordable housing, like bringing in folks who have expertise in that area to kind of present in front of Athens Justice and Memory. But the recommendations and kind of the breadth, I guess, of the work does need to come from members, which would fall under Open Records Acts and the same boards, authority, and commissions regulations. In terms of like research, or outside consultancies, I think that that's fine, but in terms of like doing actual work, making decisions, that does have to come from members of the Athens Justice Memory.
That's right. The work will occur within Athens Justice and Memory. The subcommittee membership, as stated, would be made up of Athens Justice and Memory team members. However, if you want to bring in someone to help with research, help consult, help talk about the work, that's certainly possible, but you would take that information in, and any recommendation that comes out of the subcommittee that goes to Athens Justice and Memory must come from committee members, and the work would occur in the public.
That was a lot said, lot said, but I think that, I think I got it, and I will keep us on target on what we're supposed to do as a team. We're gonna operate basically like we have been doing with the Justice and Memory team. We're gonna make sure we use the right members, and we also make sure that, we don't do anything that, we make sure that we don't do anything that's outside of what the teams have been challenged to do. Probably gonna stay on point. To me, that's easier. We're just gonna try to stay on point.
Yeah, my sense is the way we've been doing
Yes.
every month updates
Yes.
has been really effective to achieve this goal. I think we're just being more stated and sort of clear about it, but I do think like every project we've been working on since the beginning, there's been some kind of update, even if the update was, there's not much to update you on. So like, my sense is if we keep doing this mechanism of having all the subgroups reporting back anything that they've been talking about, researching, reading, if they're just kind of keeping everyone up to date month by month in these public meetings, is that appropriate and insufficient, or what, are there something else that we're missing?
I think,
Quorum
yeah,
is
Quorum
quorum key, yep.
of JMP members at
And
the
even
month.
subcommittee.
In the subcommittee, we gotta have a
Got it,
quorum.
okay, that's useful to know.
So if there's a quorum, it's a public meeting.
Got it.
If you have 3 people, quorum would be 2.
So, okay,
So we have to have a quorum.
or if you don't have a quorum, it does not have to be public.
Right, so that you have 5 people on a subcommittee and 2 people are talking.
Got it. Yeah, that allows people to have casual conversation. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Once you have a quorum, it has to be public.
That's right.
Got it.
Any other questions? Okay. Okay, well, if, there are no other questions, that's all we have. I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.